Part 110. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 1104. The ending is too tearful. At the end of the online drama, everyone cried weepingly under Qi Yuan and Yan's Weibo, asking for a sequel to bring the cat monster back to life with his benefactor. When making this online drama, Yan Ji felt that Qi Yuan's mood was always wrong. She thought this guy was a born actor, because she would look like that when she entered the show. But until the release of the internet drama, the man was chasing the drama every night without saying anything. At the finale of the internet drama, Qi Yuan sat on the sofa all night. Yanj accompanied him to sit aside. On the second day, when Yanj woke up, she realized that she was already lying on the bed in the bedroom. She did not see Qi Yuan's shadow. Although I was a bit surprised, I didn't care, but went into the study and started writing my second script. There are too many planes of Yanj's experience, and things in many planes have long been a drop in the ocean, without any impression. But because of this experience, she wrote a script with a lot of brains. Qi Hiking had not returned home for more than half a month. Yanj didn't call him. She was hungry and called for a takeaway. She was trapped in a chair in the study for a while, and then finished writing the script. During this time, Qi Yuan's emotions have been wrong. Yan Ji, out of the alertness of a tree, always felt that she might not even have the chance to live in this plane. So I want to take advantage of this limited time to get something for myself. She has actually done a lot of things in this plane, but nothing has ever caused Qi Yuan to be different. No matter what she does, Qi Yuan is coy and pampered with a look. Only after she became a screenwriter did Qi Yuan start to change. This change of Qi Yuan may make this brain hole world worse, but Yan Ji has experienced too much, and she knows what it means to be rich and wealthy. The greater the danger, the greater the chance of winning in danger. Until the early morning of more than 20 days, Qi Yuan finally returned home. He opened the door and looked at everything in this room. The room was dark, like a beast waiting in the dark. He didn't enter the room and stood at the door for a long time. Yanj was still in the study, and when he heard that he went out, he was surprised and said, "Brother, are you back?" She didn't wait for Qi Yuan to answer, she ran a few steps and happily said, "Brother, I have finished the second script. Would you like to see it?" Qi Yuan didn't answer. His arm was very cold. When Yanj held his arm, he didn't grab his backhand. The headlights in the living room did not turn on. Only the sensor lights in the corridor outside the door were lit. By this light, Qi Yuan lowered his head and stared at Yan Ji's face. Yanj seems to have noticed something wrong with him, holding his waist and calling softly, "Brother, what's wrong with you?" Qi Yuan held Yanj's hand and pushed her away from her body. He asked, "What kind of script?" The sound is bland. No longer used to be gentle with her pet. Yanj seemed to be unaware, and immediately happily pulled Qi Yuan toward the study room. "Brother, I just finished the ending, and I was looking for a personal staff. I didn't expect my brother to come back. It is really time for my brother to return." She yawned before she finished speaking. "Well, sleep well. Recently, in order to catch up with the script, I haven't slept well for a long time. Brother, do you remember to look carefully? I'm going to make up sleep, too tired." After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 1105. Yan Ji said as he rubbed his shoulders and walked towards the door. Although the footsteps seemed very stable. But only Yanj herself knew how embarrassed she was at the moment. The man's gaze fell on her, invisibly murderous. For a moment, she even felt that her neck had been pinched by the man, and she would be snapped off by the man at any time and place. Afraid. One thing, but more, is excitement. Why is this man like this? She felt as if she had touched the key points of this brain hole world. but what exactly it can't say. Probably after entering the plane, the man has been acting too mildly, so now he finds that the man is on the verge of violent running, and Yan Ji is very excited. Out of the study, he felt relieved after speaking. Instead of going upstairs to the bedroom, she lay directly on the sofa in the living room and slept on the pillow hugging the cat on the sofa. Chi Yuan had the script in his hand, but his eyes were always staring at the back of Yanj. Until Yanj went out, he lowered his head and fixed his eyes on the script in his hand. But the script in his hand has not turned pages for a long time. His expression was slightly down, and he didn't know what he was thinking. Waking up the next day, Yan Ji was lying on the bed as usual, but there was no Chi Yuan around him. She touched the empty side. The man from Chi Yuan never slept up all night. Yan Ji took a bath and slowly walked downstairs to see Chi Yuan, who was sitting in the study and seemed to be watching the script. She grinned and greeted Chi Yuan happily, "Brother, haven't you finished watching it? Then I'll make breakfast, and then call my brother when I'm done." What she calls breakfast is cooking 3 bags of instant noodles and throwing a few eggs into it. Even poached eggs are too lazy to get them. The instant noodles were cooked. She made a small bowl and filled Chi Yuan with a large bowl. Then she went to the study and shouted Chi Yuan happily, "Brother, eat breakfast first. We will discuss the script after we finish eating, hurry up, my instant noodles are particularly delicious." Chi Yuan then looked up and looked at Yanj. He was expressionless and could not see the mood. The words were unknowing, and forced to pull the script off Chi Yuan's hand with a smile, and pulled Chi Yuan's wrist and walked out quickly. "Brother, I was too sleepy last night, I forgot to ask you if you have no food, now, you must be hungry." She pulled Chi Yuan to sit at the dining table, and put the large bowl of instant noodles in front of Chi Yuan. "Brother, hurry up and eat something." Chi Yuan's eyes fell on the instant noodles in front of him. It was already boiled, and he couldn't tell the difference between noodles and hot. He took a spoon to stir, listening to the sound of bumps under the basin, and took it out. It was eggs. The shell has cracked several seams of eggs. Yan Ji saw him pick up an egg and was surprised and exclaimed, "Brother, you're so lucky, you can pick out the egg from underneath. I remembered that some people had done this before, but it was unpalatable." Chi Yuan didn't speak, and didn't even look up at Yanj. He bowed his head, peeled off the eggs, and ate them bit by bit. "I also drank the slimy instant noodles in the basin and even drank the soup." Yan Ji shoved the bowl at his hand to Chi Yuan, and said softly, "I'm not hungry, I'll eat this together." Chi Yuan dropped his spoon. He bowed his head and stared at the empty basin in front of him. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 1106. An intangible murderous energy is wrapped around Yan's neck, which may be tightened at any time. Yan Song's smile gradually converged. Perhaps terrified, her cat ears and cat tail all appeared. She said to the man opposite, "Brother, I'm upset." After waiting for Chi Yuan to respond, she said gently, "Brother, are you going to abandon me? Could you finish the second show before, it took me a long time to write it." The voice of grievance almost begged. Chi Yuan raised his eyes and looked at Yanj. His gaze was not an affectionate gaze, but rather a scrutiny of an item. Weighed whether the item was true or false, valuable or cheap. Yan Song was sitting opposite him. Perceiving his gaze, she walked around the table, slowly moved to Chi Yuan's side, squatted down, laid her head on his thigh, raised her head, and stared at him in clear black and white. "Brother, you look at me like this and it scares me. Will you kill me and eat it?" His hand slowly touched her hair, stroked it, and then touched her cat ears. His throat rolled, but he didn't know how to answer. This is his small word, but is it true? The thoughts in his head were chaotic, and he tried to persuade himself to break these illusory dreams. But when you look at her, you will remember those days with her. How could she be fake? At this moment, she was next to him alive, and he could even feel her soft and delicate body. He looked at her eyebrows carefully, and seemed to want to find a little false flaws in her eyebrows. There was another voice in his mind, urging him over and over again. Is this really a false world? But he didn't realize it at all. Yan Ji looked at him, and said in a dumb voice, "Brother, you have been walking for more than half a month. I have been waiting for you to go home every day. For half a month, I feel like I have waited for half my life. You said you would walk with me for a lifetime, but now, I feel like my life has come to an end. Although I am a cat demon, I also know that if a human couple is out of harmony, they can also divorce halfway. Brother, are you going to divorce me? If you have a woman you like better, I'm willing to make way for that woman and break up to be happy. Divorce my brother is fine. I just hope that my brother can be happy after not being with me." She reached out, touched his slightly frowning eyebrow, and gently pressed, "Brother, I hope you're doing well." "Divorce," Chi Yuan's voice was surprised, but immediately, he suddenly laughed softly. He squeezed his hand on his face and kissed his tender cheek on the side. What a silly thing to say. Even so, there wasn't a touch of tenderness in his voice. Fortunately, Yanj felt that the murderous spirit surrounding him had finally dissipated. She frowned and lay on his knees. "Brother, what did you think of the script last night?" When she asked this, the person next to her was stiff, and she said, "Yes." The second online drama started in full swing. This time the internet drama continued the last one, still a love, but the special thing is that the male and female in this movie are sister-sister relationship. Raise him. With his eyes on his own son, he can already become a partner, and the hostess wants to sleep off the hostess. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 1107. The hostess is not a person, but a tree demon. She was rescued by the boy on the day of transformation, so she reciprocated. But the newspaper reported that she was tempted by the beauty of the male lead and wanted to have a forest with the male lead. The three views of the tree are not the same as those of the human. The host made a lot of jokes on the way to the sleeping host. But it was not enough time to take a sip of the man. The end of the world came, and two people ran for their lives in the wind of the last days. Along the way in the last days, one tree and one person, two people stumbled over a lot of funny things. The female lead has not been able to find the opportunity to sleep with the male lead and give the male lead a whole forest. Later, the entire planet has become a desert. The male lead and everyone have always wanted to find green plants and want to change the desert of this world. The heroine distressed the man in order to find green plants running around, so from time to time he would secretly give the man a little tree root. The people at the base thought that the hostess found the green plants but did not want to take them all out. They felt that the hostess was too selfish, and many people even found the hostess in private, persuading the hostess to tell the place of the green plants. Everyone and the male owner didn't know that the green plants that the female host took out were all she was chopping her own roots. She was about to chop herself into a bald head. The lush green trees are most afraid of baldness. No one understands her sister's situation. Those who are studying green plants will be effective in the eyes, but they will have to stop their research because of the absence of green plants. The people at the base were very anxious about this. The male lead pleased and went out with the female lead to find the green plants. Although the zombies have been eliminated, the environment is now full of deserts. The two left the base and entered the desert. The sky and sand covered the sky, and every step was extremely difficult. The dry food was about to run out, and the water had reached the end. When the female host saw that the male host did not want to go back, she asked him, is the green plant really important? During this time, everyone in the back said that the hostess knew Z but did not take it out. She clearly wanted to sit on the ground and start the price. The male lead doesn't want the female lead to be discussed by those people, so he stubbornly finds the green plants. The man nodded. Once green plants can be planted in the desert, it will save countless lives. Of course, it will be very important. The lives of countless people are important. In the eyes of the male lead, the most important thing is to find green plants so that the female lead is no longer targeted by those in the base. The water was about to hit the bottom, and the male lead gave the female the last sip of water. It didn't take long for him to faint because of lack of energy. After fainting, it was strange, and he had a wonderful spring dream. In the dream, he tangled with a big tree. When he woke up again, it was under a green tree. There was desert all around, but there were trees around him, and the thickest tree was in front of him, and they couldn't hold each other. The man lying on the ground looked at the big tree for a moment, and thought it was a dream. But immediately, he reacted, panicked, and disappeared. Where did his sister go? Eschatology is actually an upset in online dramas. But this web drama may be because of the popularity that the first one brought up, or because the couple's sense of CP was too strong for Yang and Chi Yun, so after the web drama was broadcast, the click and response were very good. It was only at the finale that when it was found to be a sad ending, the fans cried into dogs and vowed to never watch the couple's TV again. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 1108. It was so sad, it was so funny at first. I thought that I ate a mouthful of sugar, but the sugar residue became glass residue. Fans even thought of Yan Ji and Chi Yun's house crying. The two dramas are Yan Ji's own divergent brain holes. But I do know how. Not only did Chi Yun have post-play syndrome after the show, but even Yan Ji himself had a feeling of being unable to play after finishing the second part. She and Chi Yun were sitting on the sofa chasing the drama together, brushing over and over again. She felt that she might be affected by the true and false aspects of this plane. When looking at the plot, she even had a kind of sadness and doubts about whether this kind of thing happened. At the finale that night, the two sat on the sofa and stared at the TV, which had become an advertisement. No one moved. But Yan Ji clearly felt that the man next to him had murderous body again. She didn't evade, but moved over, resting on his lap, looking up at him without blinking. Brother, is this world important, or is it important to me? Chi Yun didn't answer her. He suddenly stood up and rushed towards the door. Yan Ji was admitted to the hospital. She is a cat demon, and she can live a normal life for 100 years. However, her lifespan actually depends on Chi Yun. The hospital couldn't find out what was wrong with Yang. She was lying on the bed, and many fans from all over the place tried to visit her outside the door. Almost everyone was visiting her to console her, but Chi Yun disappeared. Yang was hospitalized for more than a month. Chi Yun didn't even show up. Until one night, the sleeping song suddenly awakened, and her eyes fell on the shadow standing on her bed. There was no light in the room, and the street light came through the window. Although the man's features were not very clear, the words were discerned at a glance. He was Chi Yun. Yang smiled at him and said, I asked a lot of people, and no one knew where you were. At the end, she smiled bitterly, if you have another new love, tell me directly, I will divorce you diligently, will not entangle you, you can't practically avoid me like this. Chi Yun heard the words, and slowly walked to the bedside of Yang. He was sitting on the chair beside the bed and kept his eyes on Yang. Yan Ji turned his head and looked back at him. Chi Yun leaned over and sang the quilt. After the quilt was quilted, his hand did not leave, but covered the position of Yan Ji's heart. He finally spoke, what are you? The voice is calm, no joy and no sorrow, no emotions can be heard. but his gaze pierced into Yan's eyes like two sharp blades, as if he used the eyes to open up Yan's belly, and she was seen inside and out. Yan Song did not dodge his gaze. She was like a stubborn cat. Xingmu stared at him and asked, "What am I in your eyes?" She talked, feeling her ears and her tail showing again. The man's hand covering her heart position pinched her cat's ears, and then, again and again, the hair on Yan Ji's ears was about to be wiped out. "I've killed countless cats." His voice was loose, as if it were just gossip. "Those who entered the snitch died in my hands. There were not 100 or so." He stared at the surprise of Shang Yanj and said, "Did you tell me what you brought in? Once you died in my hands, you really died." You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 1109. Qi Yuan squeezed the cat's ears and said, "You should understand what I mean when I really die." Yan Song did not nod, her lips clenched. "I don't know why, I suddenly remembered that once the cub said that there were countless missionaries who also took over the list of powerful people, but all of them were hung up. It was just how to hang up, but couldn't find out. The person in front of him, is he also a mighty person? Is that the powerful one she took orders from? Or another mighty one? So many missionaries actually hang up like this? Hanging out in the brain hole world of the mighty one is really aggrieved." Qi Yuan stated, "I can kill you easily." Needless to say, Yan Ji knew that her life and death were all in his thoughts, but she really didn't know that if she was killed by the male lead in this plane, she would really hang up. Was this the pit that Zhu Wei dug for her? She didn't believe that Ninetail knew it in advance. Yan Ji slightly raised his chin and asked him, "Why didn't you kill me?" She is quite focused. It seemed that he was not intimidated by his words. At this moment, Qi Yuan, looking at her with a calm face, suddenly felt happy. But he remained expressionless and said coldly, "It's better to think of you." Yanj laughed, "What else do you want to know from me before killing me?" How could she laugh at this moment? He stared at her seemingly pleasing eyebrows, his heart suffocating slightly, and his voice was more indifferent. "What are you? What's your name? Before you die, what are your wishes?" Yanj's smile converged in the next moment. She closed her eyes and looked tired. "Every time something like me enters this place, you will eventually recover your memory." She didn't answer him with a question. He didn't want to say anything, but when she saw the bitterness in her eyebrows, she couldn't hold back. "No, this is the only awakening." She cocked her lips. "Then I should do well." After a pause, she wondered and asked, "Since I couldn't remember before, why did you kill all those things?" Qi Yuan, "Kill if you want to kill." Yan Song, "Well, do you want to kill me?" Qi Yuan didn't answer. He leaned down and looked at her. "What's your name? What is the body?" Yanj answered honestly, "I tell you that my body is a tree, do you believe it?" His face pressed against her nose, pressed her nose, her forehead pressed against her forehead. Because of this, Yanj didn't notice that his lips were tilted. He said, "I don't believe it, so is your name Tree?" "Song, my name is Song of Songs, Words of Words, Songs of Singing." When two people are so close, the breath of each other can almost cover their faces when talking. Yan Ji's body is really sensitive. When her ears were pinched by Qi Yuan, her body was completely soft, and now she is even more intolerable. She is supported by reason and the crisis to be killed. He asked curiously, "How can a tree be called such a name?" "I don't know. I have a memory to begin with. I just called that name." Yan Ji couldn't wait to arouse Qi Yuan's curiosity, lest he wanted to kill her. So she took the initiative and said, "I have a chicken on my tree, and it always calls me Wood." If you feel awkward, you can call me Wood. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 1110. Chi Yuan's voice was upset. Why call you Wood? Words, I was originally Wood. Isn't it normal for a tree to be aliased to wood? She shifted the topic and said, I entered this small realm. Actually speaking, it was also for this chicken. It was tricked by a fox spirit. I didn't know if I was alive or dead. Many planes have various rules of heaven. If you want to enter smoothly, you must legally smuggle. I signed a contract with the system to do the system release task, and then I can randomly enter all planes. It is an accident that I entered this small area that belongs to you, you. Do you think I won't kill you and let you go? Correct. Chi Yuan sat up sharply and looked down at the song like a condescending voice, with a stern voice, like you, enter the small realm to deceive me, to fool me and play with my body and feelings. Why do you think I let you go? Words of song. Playing with his body and feelings. Hemp eggs, wronged. Who is playing with who? Is this wicked suing first? Yanj panicked, but said apologetically, I'm sorry, I thought you were happy and enjoyed it. Chi Yuan, if there is love built on lies, no matter how fun it is, if you have it, it will be fun for you to play with me. Yanj shook his head quickly, I didn't play with you, please believe me. Chi Yuan, ha, you thought I would believe it. Yan Ji looked at him sincerely, I really like you. She raised her hand and held Chi Yuan's palm on her chest. This heart is beating for you. Chi Yuan, oh. Yan's eyelashes trembled and said sadly, my chicken called me Wood. There is actually another reason, because I am a tree, so I have no heart and do not understand the so-called feelings, but it is strange to enter here, I feel that my emotions have always been led by you. You said that I played with you, but in my heart, I always felt that you would be cold to me and hot to me, and you were playing with me. As she was talking, her eye circles were red, it doesn't feel good at all, I feel that my body is out of my control. I can feel that you always want to kill me. You don't even know the feeling of being killed by someone you like. It's desperate, sad, and especially sad. This part of my heart also hurts, and I can't wait to dig my heart. Chi Yuan pressed her hand on the chest slowly and rubbed, does it still hurt? I will rub it for you. Yanj, it doesn't hurt, the old lady feels itchy, please continue rubbing and don't let go. She was acutely aware that her words seemed to work. Chi Yuan's voice had a gentle meaning again. This gave Yanj endless confidence. She reached out, put his hand around his neck, choked with grievances and said, can you take my heart out before you kill me? I hate feelings of heart. Chi Yuan didn't speak. He turned his head and kissed the corner of her eyes, do you really like me? Yanj, I like it, I like it, I really like it. Chi Yuan, don't you like me for your system tasks? Words swear vowed, no, I like you, nothing else. Chi Yuan, oh, I don't believe it. Yanj, do you believe that you still ask so many questions? Oh Yanj, otherwise you dig out my heart and see if I have your name in my heart, I don't know why I like you so much, but I can't hold myself. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 1111. Chi Yuan did not respond. At such a short distance, he stared at the features of Yanj without blinking. Until now, there was still a roar in his heart. The voice spoke over and over again in his ear. Say this is a fantasy, say all this is false, say she is not the person he is looking for, say kill her and you can leave the niche. Is she fake? His fingertips slowly traced her eyebrows. During this time, his mind was awake, sometimes sober and sometimes insane. Seeing her, she wanted to pinch her. The foreigners who once entered this small area in an attempt to deceive him, without exception, could not survive the second day. She is an exception. She has lived under his nose for too long. He couldn't fight her, and he couldn't produce exclusion. Even if she wanted to kill her during this period, she couldn't really do it. He could feel that she was the one he was looking for. But is this sixth sense true? Is this a camouflage she adopted? Thousands of thoughts have been stunned in my heart countless times, especially now, after listening to her. He has already been affirmed by 12 points. He bowed his head slightly, kissed her lips, and said coldly, "Dare to dislike me, and kill you." Before she could finish speaking, she had bitten on his lips in disorientation. Tears were clearly aggrieved, but her tongue bullied him and demanded madly, "Chi Yuan." During this time, those struggling and wandering, hesitating and confused, as if at this moment are all clear, he held her in his arms, hold tightly, and never let go. Yan's body was awesome the next day. Chi Yuan was discharged from the hospital with her back. Two people can be regarded as a century-old piece. Yang not only enjoyed the full service of the former 24 filial piety boyfriends, but also ate a full fish feast for a long time. Compared with the treatment of some time ago, Jen's heaven and earth. The song dictated that she must love Chi Yuan well, and use this hot heart and hot body to warm the big brother's heart. Hemp eggs, in fact she loved him when she first entered the world. I don't know why he produces so many moths. Of course, Yan Ji faintly guessed that he should have remembered the past with the boss and thought of those who wanted to deceive him, so he also suspected that she was also deceiving him. The big brother has been deceived by delusions. From the perspective of Yan Ji, no matter who was the tasker or her, it was because of the brain hole list released by the big brother himself to send him love and warmth. He felt good, and felt that the care sent by others was not warm enough, and the return was just a big bad review. He even killed everyone one by one. Really, too cruel. Yan Ji silently lit the wax for those annihilated missionaries. Then he put away all the little dissatisfaction with Chi Yuan. In order to survive, she must love him well. That night, the two men smashed again. Chi Yuan at night is obviously more intense and brutal than Chi Yuan during the day. Always say to her, "Say you like me, say you love me, say you will never leave me again. Brother, I like you, I love you, I will never leave you again." Has she ever left him? The one who left was obviously him. However, in order to survive, Yan Ji silently ignored Chi Yuan's words, and for the time being endured. But then, this guy actually hugged her and called her sister. This can't stand it. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 1112. Want her to love him, he used her as a substitute. Such things can't be tolerated by any true love. Yan Ji was sitting on Chi Yuan. He heard the words, leaned over and bit on Chi Yuan's cheeks, "I'm not your sister." The voice was fierce, with a bit of indignation and grievance. Chi Yuan froze slightly, the pain on the cheek gradually spread, he faced her tearful apricot eyes, and reached out to hug her subconsciously. Yanj bit his chin again and asked with a gritted voice, "Who is your elder sister? You say you like me, but you always call others. Do you treat me as a stand-in?" Before he finished speaking, he opened Chi Yuan's hand, weeping and crying from Chi Yuan's body, pulled his clothes and walked towards the door. Chi Yuan got up and dragged her. "Don't go, small words, not what you think." He hugged Yanj, and Yanj stepped on his foot hard, but she didn't wear shoes, and it wouldn't hurt much. Chi Yuan didn't let go of her, she simply raised her knees again and struck his third leg. Chi Yuan ducked her sideways and took the song to the bed and hugged it horizontally. "Small words, don't get angry, Listen to me, okay, you listen to me and get angry. Song, I don't listen, I don't listen, I don't listen. Chi Yuan looked at Yan's jealous look, and his lips could not help but curled up. He pressed Yang on the bed, kissed her lips, and kissed her nose. Small words, I only like you, really, you believe me. Yan, you bullshit, you lie to me at all, you lie to me all the time. Chi Yuan rubbed her furry ears, and her voice grew softer. Small words, believe me. Yan Ji hummed his head and avoided him. Don't touch me, I hate you. Before he finished speaking, he sobbed in tears. No matter how hard Song Yan struggled, Chi Yuan held people tightly in his arms and shouted a small word. Yanj and this guy had a cold war for 3 days and had a full fish feast for 3 days. Later, Chi Yuan repeatedly promised that under the request of Yan Ji, he wrote a letter of guarantee to ensure that he would never miss that sister rush again. Yan Ji just barely forgave him. But from time to time, Fan Ki-wan did not return home because of filming at night, or a few days on a business trip. Yan Ji had to check the post, and then stabbed him with the so-called sister. This can also be regarded as crossing the river by touching stones, and found that Chi Yuan not only did not get angry because she was jealous from time to time, but because her guilty conscience was getting better and better for her. Yanj understood that this guy has a hidden tendency to abuse. Yanj has been very nourished in this position. She and Chi Yuan were called the Chi couple by the outside world. The script of Yanj was her and Chi Yuan. She has carried forward this profession, and she has never stopped talking about the lively life in this plane, and her relationship with Chi Yuan has always been very moist. However, Yan Ji and Chi Yuan have never been old, and even if she is nourished in this plane, her heart can't help it. It can't be consumed in this plane all the time. How can I get out? Although anxious, Yan Ji could only suppress his emotions in front of Chi Yuan. She and Chi Yuan are getting closer and closer. Therefore, Yan Ji would curiously inquire about Chi Yuan's past and how he gave birth to such a small situation. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 1113. But to the disappointment of Yan Ji, Chi Yuan himself didn't know that this was the brain-hole world that he had created. In his eyes, this was a niche, no different from other worlds. As for how he came in, he didn't have any impression himself, and he felt that he still had a part of his memory sealed. Words of song. She couldn't figure out what she needed. Of course, the most important thing is that I can't find the way to leave. The night before the two men stayed together for 100 years, Chi Yuan sat on the roof with Yanj again. Although it is summer, it will not be cold at night, but there are mosquitoes. Yan Ji's body is delicate and tender, which is the favorite food of mosquitoes. When Chi Yuan looked up at the sky, Yan Ji just clicked on and hit the mosquitoes. Spraying toilet water will not work. She was really intolerable. Chi Yuan seemed to be unaware and did not whisper to comfort her. Singing mad? An angry speech song slaps on Chi Yuan's face. There are mosquitoes. The hand strength is particularly strong, and a snap is very loud on this silent night. Chi Yuan bowed his head and looked to Yanj. Yanj repeated, there are mosquitoes. Chi Yuan reached out and rubbed Yanj's cat ears. Small words, remember me in the future. Words of song. This guy is sad again in spring and autumn. Yanj nestled in his arms, and hit mosquitoes on his arm by the way. Then he said very seriously, we will always be together, and no one will forget who. For hundreds of years, she also likes this kind of life, but when she thinks about the unknown birth and death of the chicken and that the fox is not a good thing, Yanj is in a hurry. Where can there be leisurely love with this man? Swearing. Chi Yuan seemed dissatisfied with Yan Ji's insincere answer. He grabbed Yan Ji's dangling tail and kneaded, if you don't remember me next time, I will kill you. Yan Ji looked up, although he looked at him with a look of ignorance, but his heart spread like joy with fireworks exploding. This brain hole world is Chi Yuan's world. He must say this because he already felt that she was leaving. After 100 years, he finally left, and Yan Ji was really excited, but he didn't show it on the face. Chi Yuan looked at Yanj, "Will you remember me?" At this moment, his expression was really sorrowful. When he looked at her, the strands of love in his eyes were wrapped around the words invisible. The joyfulness of Yanj's heart faded away, and gradually he was rushed into his heart. To leave, I really can't bear the fish this guy made. She felt like she had never eaten such a delicious fish in her lifetime. The world is delicious. Ugh. Yan Song nodded slowly, rested his head on his chest, and said dumbly, "Are I leaving?" Chi Yuan didn't answer, but held her tightly in her arms. Small words, "You have to remember me, okay, you can't forget me this time." The voice almost begged. She couldn't forget him at his full fish feast. "Wait, what is this time?" Yanj looked up and asked him in wonder, "Do you know me before? Could it be that she is a good old friend?" "Impossible, she is old and good. Where can this guy have such great ability? He can open a brain hole world by himself. Otherwise, she would have hugged the old-fashioned thighs long ago." Chi Yuan did not answer. He remembered everything at the beginning, remembered what he and her used to, and desperately wanted to share with her. "But I didn't dare.